Hello everyone and welcome to my channel YNR Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Billy's voice cracked like a whip through the dimly lit room of Chancellor Winters, the tension so thick that even the silent hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to hesitate, flickering in recognition of the storm brewing between them. His jaw was clenched, fists trembling at his sides as he took a deliberate step toward Phyllis, whose usually unflappable expression faltered for a fleeting second before she masked it with her trademark smirk, though her eyes betrayed the spark of unease at the raw desperation radiating from him, because this wasn't the playful, reckless Billy she knew, the one who gambled with fate and flirted with ruin for sport. No, this was a man pushed to the brink, worn down by memories of betrayal, manipulation, loss, and the constant shadow of Victor Newman dominating every corner of his life, suffocating him until the idea of justice became synonymous with revenge, and he whispered, though the words felt like thunder, "This is your last chance, Phyllis." The finality sinking into the air like an anchor dragging them both into dangerous depths no one could predict. She blinked, her breath catching, her mind racing with calculations faster than the ticking clock on the wall, each second a bomb countdown reminding her that Billy Abbott was either about to destroy Victor Newman's empire or himself. Phyllis crossed her arms, but the gesture lacked conviction. She was weighing costs, both moral and strategic, imagining consequences spiraling uncontrollably, knowing full well what Victor did to those who dared threaten him. Careers ruined overnight, families torn apart, entire lives erased from Genoa City's narrative. But Billy pressed on, voice low and urgent, recounting moments of torment inflicted by Victor, the manipulation of Delia's death, the business sabotage, the gaslighting, the way Victor always escaped justice while others paid the price. "We can't let him get away with it again," Billy said, pacing, his eyes glossy, haunted. "He'll destroy the next person and the next until there's nothing left of us, nothing left of this town." Phyllis inhaled sharply, visions of her own history with Victor flashing across her mind like lightning. The plots, the schemes, the imprisonments, the blackmail, the humiliations, the way that smug patriarch walked through fire and came out smelling like victory. She hated him, God, she hated him, but aligning with Billy in such a vendetta was like juggling lit matches near a gas leak. Billy stopped pacing and faced her again, suddenly calm, and the stillness terrified her more than the fury. His determination was fixed, immovable, like fate itself had handed him the mission. "I need you to help me get Victor jailed," he declared, eyes locking onto hers with laser precision. Phyllis's heart hammered in her chest, nerves pulsing at her fingertips, as she imagined courtroom spotlights, handcuffs clicking around Victor's wrists, the collective gasp from Genoa City elite, Nikki's anguished eyes, Victoria's devastated disbelief, and yet, beneath that chaos, a seductive thrill shimmered, the ultimate takedown of the almighty Newman patriarch, the thing no one had managed before. But even as temptation whispered, fear screamed louder, warning of retaliations that could destroy everything she still clung to. Phyllis's voice wavered as she asked, "Billy, what exactly are you asking me to do?" And Billy leaned in, lowering his tone to a dangerous whisper, laying out the plan, leverage buried secrets, unearthed evidence of illegal dealings tied to Newman Enterprises' offshore accounts, witnesses coerced through Victor's iron fist who might be willing to flip if someone could protect them. The kind of case strong enough to hold up in court rather than collapse under Newman influence. His words dripped with resolve, each syllable a dagger aimed at Victor's invincibility. Phyllis's palms grew slick, her pulse racing not only with anxiety but exhilaration. Her twisted history with Victor made the idea of seeing him jailed intoxicating, a resolution to wounds she'd long buried beneath layers of sarcasm and red lipstick. Yet she couldn't ignore the larger truth hovering like a specter. Once she crossed that line with Billy, there was no going back, no retreat. She pictured Summer and Daniel caught in the crossfire, collateral damage of her vendetta-ridden choices. She pictured Jack finding out, his expression a complicated mix of disappointment and concern, because he always warned her Victor was too powerful to destroy without sacrificing everything. But Billy leaned closer still, gripping her shoulders, his voice trembling, not with fear but fervor, begging her to acknowledge that Victor's reign had gone unchecked for far too long, that someone had to end it, that justice wasn't vengeance when the guilty deserved consequences. Phyllis swallowed hard and Billy sensed her hesitation, sparks of desperation igniting into wildfire as he warned, "If we don't do something now, Victor will come for us next." He'll ruin me, and he'll ruin you, and he won't even break a sweat doing it. The silence that followed was suffocating, broken only by the mechanical hum of office ventilation, each exhale a reminder that time was slipping through their fingers like sand, and Billy's ultimatum loomed between them like a noose tightening. Phyllis felt dizzy beneath the weight of decision. The world seemed to tilt, her mind grappling with the magnitude of the proposition, weighing possibilities like chess moves, each countered by Victor's reputation for omniscience. She finally exhaled, voice barely audible, "If we do this, there's no turning back." Billy nodded slowly, eyes burning with unspoken pain intertwined with hope, as though the very act of Phyllis entertaining the idea offered him salvation. She stepped away, pacing now, mimicking his earlier agitation, talking herself through the logic. Victor had evaded accountability for decades, leaving trails of broken lives. Maybe someone needed to take the risk, maybe this was destiny calling her to do what no one else dared. But another thought infiltrated, the cold, undeniable truth. Victor Newman always wins. Memories of every rival crushed under his boot piled atop one another until fear threatened to suffocate her resolve. Billy sensed this spiraling and struck again. More ruthless, more emotional, exposing wounds she tried desperately to heal. He used you, Phyllis. He weaponized you. He made you his pawn. Don't pretend you don't remember. And his words hit like bullets, reopening ancient scars, igniting rage she thought she'd extinguished. Her breath quivered as tears gathered against her will. Fury and vulnerability clashed violently within her. The idea of Victor jailed became more than justice. It was liberation from years of manipulation. She pictured herself triumphant, finally untethered from Newman's shadow. She stopped pacing and faced Billy again, wiping a tear angrily, straightening her spine, defiance radiating in familiar crimson-coated determination. "What do you need from me?" she demanded, voice steady now. Her internal conflict resolved in dangerous clarity. Billy exhaled shakily, relief and dread intertwining, because he knew once Phyllis committed, she committed fully, and their alliance would become a force capable of shattering Genoa City's power structures. He outlined the plan in full, the digital trail leading to offshore shell corporations, the accountant who disappeared after threatening exposure, the archived files hidden deep in Newman servers protected by encryption protocols only a hacker like Phyllis could bypass, and the strategy to leak evidence strategically to authorities before Victor could bury it. As details unraveled, Phyllis's adrenaline surged. Fear dissolved into intoxicating focus, fingers itching to tear through firewalls and expose the lies. And yet, through the adrenaline, a final thought flickered. If they succeeded, they wouldn't just cage Victor. They'd trigger war, the kind where no loyalty survived. But the moment to back out had passed. Billy's ultimatum anchored her fate. She extended her hand slowly. Billy grasped it firmly, sealing a pact forged from pain, revenge, desperation, and twisted justice. "This is your last chance," Billy repeated softly. Not a threat anymore, but a solemn vow neither could escape. Phyllis nodded, eyes blazing, voice resolute as she whispered, "Let's take Victor down." Outside the office windows, storm clouds gathered over Genoa City, lightning splitting the sky, mirroring the chaos about to erupt, a reckoning decades in the making. And as thunder cracked, shaking the building, it felt like the universe itself acknowledging that the balance of power was shifting, that the unstoppable Victor Newman was about to meet his greatest threat, not from shareholders, rivals, or boardroom coups, but from two broken souls pushed past their breaking point, ready to burn everything to ash for the chance at freedom, justice, or revenge, even if they could no longer tell the difference. As the storm raged outside, rattling the windows like a warning from forces unseen, Phyllis and Billy walked silently through the corridors of Chancellor Winters, their footsteps echoing off the polished floors like drumbeats announcing the war they had just declared. Neither spoke because words felt fragile, inadequate for the magnitude of betrayal they were about to unleash on Genoa City's most powerful man, and though adrenaline pulsed hot through their veins, dread lurked beneath it, a quiet whisper reminding them that once they crossed this line, there would be no path back to innocence, forgiveness, or anonymity. Phyllis's pulse thundered in her ears as she imagined the digital traps she would have to dismantle, the encrypted Newman archive she'd need to infiltrate, knowing full well Victor's paranoia meant every file was heavily guarded and monitored. One wrong keystroke could alert Newman IT security, triggering internal alarms before she gathered enough evidence. Billy's breathing was steady but shallow, his mind flickering endlessly between triumph and devastation, fantasizing about Victor finally paying for every manipulation, every calculated cruelty, but also haunted by the possibility of failure, because if they failed, Victor wouldn't merely retaliate. He would annihilate them, tear apart their reputations, relationships, identities, leaving behind ashes where their lives once stood. As they entered Billy's office, Phyllis sat down without a word at the desk, cracking her knuckles, her eyes laser-focused, and Billy shut the door behind them, terrified someone might overhear the conspiracy unfolding. The air seemed charged with static, each breath sharpened by fear and resolve. Phyllis powered up her laptop, fingers trembling, but once the screen glowed to life, instinct kicked in. Her hands danced across the keys with calculated precision, recalling code sequences, bypass techniques, and shadow networks she'd sworn she'd never revisit but now resurrected like ghosts summoned for vengeance. Billy hovered behind her, pacing like a caged predator preparing for attack, every second tightening his desperation as if time itself were collapsing around them. Phyllis spoke through clenched teeth. Victor built layers upon layers of protection. This won't be easy. Billy replied, voice strained. Good. That means he has something to hide. And in that moment their motivations aligned. Justice tangled with vengeance, truth tangled with obsession, morality blurred into a fog of rationalization, because if the ends justified the means, neither wanted to admit the means were beginning to define them. Suddenly the screen shifted. A digital gateway emerged, but access required a biometric key and two-factor authentication tied to Newman executives. We need someone inside Newman, Phyllis hissed, heart plummeting as she realized even her mastery might not penetrate Victor's fortress without human leverage. Billy froze mid-stride, realizing the implications. Someone from Victor's inner circle would have to betray him, knowingly or unknowingly, and the list of potential pawns was short, dangerous. Victoria, Nick, Adam, even Nate, but each carried risks, emotional entanglements, loyalties fluctuating like tides. Billy's expression darkened as a thought formed, crawling through his mind like poison. There was one Newman who had always harbored resentment toward Victor, someone brilliant enough to cover their tracks and desperate enough to want Victor's downfall, Adam Newman. Naming him felt like summoning a devil. Phyllis's eyes locked with Billy's, the unspoken realization sparking like fireworks in a pitch-black sky, and for a second neither dared breathe. Finally Phyllis whispered, Adam. Billy nodded, voice raw with dread, because involving Adam meant more unpredictability, more chaos, but also opportunity. Adam's history with Victor was a battlefield, riddled with betrayals, reconciliations, broken promises, and relentless power struggles. If anyone would help destroy Victor, willingly or otherwise, it might be Adam, but approaching him risked exposing their plot before it even began. Phyllis slammed her laptop shut, standing abruptly. We have to be smart, she cautioned. Adam plays his own game. He won't help unless he thinks he benefits. And if Victor gets wind of this... She trailed off, but Billy finished the sentence grimly. We're dead. Phyllis gathered her coat, adrenaline spiking. She needed air, space to think before diving into dangerous alliances. Billy grabbed her wrist urgently, voice cracking under pressure. We stick together, no going rogue. His grip softened, vulnerability bleeding through his eyes. Phyllis withdrew her hand gently, nodding. I won't sabotage this. But if we want Adam on board, we need leverage or bait compelling enough to push him past hesitation. She turned toward the door, pausing. I'll reach out to him. Billy swallowed hard. Fear churned in his gut, but hope flickered dangerously. As Phyllis disappeared down the hallway, Billy felt the weight of the choice crush his chest. Doubt seeped through cracks in his determination. Was this plan justice or another obsession destined to destroy him? And if Victor wasn't jailed but they exposed evidence prematurely, Victor would unleash war the likes of which Genoa City had never seen. Meanwhile, Phyllis sped through rain-soaked streets toward society, where Adam often retreated when spiraling between loyalty and rebellion. She rehearsed hypothetical conversations, each version collapsing under scrutiny because Adam responded to vulnerability one moment, power the next, and manipulation always. As she entered society's dim ambience, she spotted Adam at the bar, staring into a glass of whiskey like it contained answers to existential questions. She approached cautiously, every step amplifying dread and adrenaline. Adam lifted his gaze, surprise flickering, replaced quickly by suspicion. Phyllis, What crisis brings you crawling my way? He asked with a sardonic lift of his eyebrow. Phyllis forced a smirk, sliding into the chair beside him, though her pulse raced wildly. Not crawling. Collaborating. Adam leaned back, eyes narrowing as he assessed her tone, posture, purpose. Collaborating on what? He challenged, voice thick with skepticism. Phyllis leaned in closer, whispering, Billy and I found evidence. Enough to put Victor away, for good. Adam stiffened, pupils dilating, emotions whirling behind his guarded expression. Shock, longing, suspicion, fury, temptation, fear. His jaw clenched as conflicting loyalties battled internally. Years of pain inflicted by Victor resurfaced like ghosts clawing beneath his skin. Victor can't be taken down, Adam said quietly, almost mournfully, though a tremor betrayed the part of him that wanted to believe otherwise. Phyllis pressed, voice urgent, eyes blazing. Unless we act together. We need executive-level clearance into Newman financial servers. You can get us in. Adam's stare sharpened, analyzing angles and consequences like chess moves. He imagined Victor in handcuffs, imagined reclaiming control of his identity untethered from Newman legacy, imagined freedom, but also destruction. What's in it for me? He asked finally, always calculating self-preservation. Phyllis leaned closer, every word dangerous. A clean break. Empowerment. Justice. She paused, letting gravity settle. Revenge. Adam exhaled sharply, the lure undeniable, pulling threads of his resentment until resolve frayed. But before he could respond, Nick unexpectedly appeared behind them, having overheard fragments of their conversation. His voice sliced through the moment like broken glass. Revenge against who? Phyllis's blood ran cold. Adam's demeanor shifted instantly into defensive neutrality, and Nick's protective instincts ignited, because any time his family was threatened, he sensed it like seismic vibrations. Phyllis forced a casual laugh, deflecting clumsily, but Nick's skepticism deepened as he studied their expressions, recognizing the unmistakable glimmer of conspiracy. Whatever you two are plotting, I'm warning you, it better not involve our father, Nick growled. Adam's jaw tightened, pain rippling across his features as loyalty warred with rage. Phyllis attempted to stand, but Nick's hand shot out, gripping her forearm with surprising force. Don't drag my brother into one of your vendettas, he snapped. Adam rose abruptly, tension radiating, and shoved Nick's hand off Phyllis. Back off, Adam warned, voice low. The bar fell silent, patrons sensing the conflict. Nick stared between them, conviction growing darker, more resolute. He could feel it. The threat forming, poisonous, deadly, and instinct kicked in. Protect the family at all costs. I'm going to find out what you two are planning, Nick vowed, storming out into the rain. Panic stabbed through Phyllis's chest. The dominoes were already falling. Adam stared at her, expression hardened, decision crystallizing beneath the pressure. You're insane, he muttered, but the glimmer of intrigue returned. And maybe I am too. He hesitated only a moment before whispering, meet me tomorrow at midnight. Bring Billy. If I help, we do it my way. Phyllis nodded, heart pounding. The alliance had formed, fragile and explosive. As she exited into the tempest, rain soaking her hair and coat, she realized the storm wasn't coincidence. It was prophecy, foretelling destruction inevitable now that lines had been crossed. Billy paced anxiously in his office until Phyllis returned near midnight. Her entrance alone told him everything. Adam was in. Relief surged, followed immediately by terror. They were now bound to a scheme that could topple Newman Empire or obliterate them entirely. As Phyllis recounted every detail of the encounter, Billy realized the stakes had multiplied. Nick's suspicion meant they had limited time before Victor learned pieces of the plan. Billy slammed his fist against the desk, frustration and fear colliding. For years Victor dominated him psychologically, financially, spiritually. Now Billy tasted the chance to flip the power dynamic, to redefine destiny. But the closer victory appeared, the more monstrous the battle became. Phyllis closed her laptop, finalizing preparations for the infiltration, and whispered, once this begins, everything changes. Billy met her gaze, acknowledging the weight of her statement. Tomorrow at midnight, they would join forces with Adam Newman. tapping into Newman servers using his biometric clearance, extracting incriminating evidence before Victor sensed betrayal. The storm outside intensified, wind howling like vengeful spirits. The windows shuddered violently, mirroring Billy's trembling hands. He whispered, voice barely audible, "This is our last chance." But Phyllis responded with haunting certainty, "No, Billy. This is the point of no return."